Well, if it isn't these three legends.
Hello, you absolute legends.
Is that two AI? We posted the Carl versus Mooney clip, and I was listening back to it, and only one time did I do a halfway decent impression of Carl. The rest of the time it was bullshit. But I think one time it was like, why does he talk like this sing-songy way of speaking? Yeah, that's pretty good. I bet Dan can do it. Can you do Carl? Carl Jobst.
Oh,
he's Australian. Just do an Australian accent.
Here is the 74,000th Billy Mitchell video again.
I like that. I like the way you dipped.
Yeah, it's like a newscaster. It's almost news. It's like the yin to Lee Decades Yang, you know?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of...
Welcome to the Dick O'Clock News. Wouldn't that just be the most magical YouTube video of all, those two? Back to you in the studio. Thank you so much, Carl.
I'm hooked on the brothers myself.
Back to you, Carl Jobst, who's hooked on the brothers. All right, so we got Slobs in the house tonight. You know Jason, you know Dan, they've been on the show before, but they have not been on the show since they started. Well, what do you do when you need help? You get help.
Do these people not want me to have any help? Do they want me to suffer?
So they've actually been editing some of these clips that you have been downvoting.
They've only upvoted mine.
They only have, okay.
I'm not the insufferable third guy. I'm the third guy everybody loves.
Aren't you that guy everybody hates?
No, man, no.
Yeah, this is the first time we've had 4 people, and we were on thin ice about it. We're like, should we? Is it going to be too much crosstalk? It's been a pretty decent show in terms of crosstalk, although the editors now know that sometimes it does get kind of obnoxious.
It's either going to go one of two ways. It'll be, we hate those two guys, or it'll be, we hate one of these guys.
Let them guess.
And I can't wait to see.
I liked was it you, Dan, who said recently, you're like, the internet is just filled with hating guests.
Yes.
Like it's a shock anyone would dare to guest on a show.
And yet, you know, here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, so we were just having a chat in Discord as one does about Nintendo 64. And who here has an N64 EverDrive? Me, EJ. No. Do you guys have EverDrives?
I don't.
I've got one.
Nice.
What
do you find when you pop in the EverDrive, Dan? What do you find yourself playing?
Well, I mean, usually for me, it's just kind of like stuff that's on the shelf that I'm not willing to change out carts for.
That makes sense.
But yeah, no, there's some odd stuff on there. You know, I mean, like I've played a lot more of the South Park game than I ever thought I would.
Really? Did you get past the first level?
How far have you gotten into the South Park game?
Level 2, which as a kid I didn't realize existed.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's like 7 hours in.
Well, it feels like it.
Yeah. I remember being like, you know, obviously I was a South Park fan. I was excited that they had made a game. I remember being excited that it was a 3D first-person shooter game. So I was like, that's cool. That's completely outside of what you could do in the show. And first-person shooters were great. And so it felt like it was getting the premium N64 treatment. It wasn't going to be, I don't know, something lesser. Although you knew that they actually did develop a, what do you call it? A Game Boy Color game. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they developed a South Park Game Boy Color game, and then somebody at the last minute, I heard Trey and Matt were involved in this decision, but they decided that it was to release like a child's puzzle platformer with South Park characters was kind of dishonest and shitty. So they turned it into the Maya the Bee Game Boy Color game, and that's what that was South Park. And apparently somebody leaked the original game, so you can play the South Park Game Boy Color game.
I think it's awesome that naturally the first thing we bring up in an N64 video is South Park, the legacy of South Park video games on the N64, unparalleled.
Well, okay, so let me establish the premise of the discussion. What we were talking about was, even though N64 is this kind of awkward pubescent console with 3D graphics that do not hold up, that you have to find, you know, the right CRT to play it on for it to look halfway decent.
Yeah, the right floor model right there.
Because it would be easy to say, like, all right, just wait one more generation and then GameCube will kick into gear and you can play these games for real. But as we were talking through it, starting with Starfox, we were like, there are still some franchise installments on the N64 that are the definitive version of that, or at least like a top one, 1, 2, or 3 in that franchise's history on the N64. The reason that we even started talking about N64 in the first place on Discord was because Dan had recommended the GameCube Starfox games, specifically, what was it, Assault, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? I played it for like a good long hour, and I was loving it. I was like, I will play the rest of this game. This is great.
It's all right, isn't it? I mean, one of the big things with like the Starfox games is you can kind of just barrel, pardon the pun, you can kind of like barrel through them in like an hour or like like a couple of hours. They're like an old arcade game.
And that's kind of what I'm looking for, if you haven't noticed.
Well, yeah.
I got through like 2 fighter pilot levels that played really nicely. And then there was some kind of like tank level. There was they call it the land speeder, right? No. Do I have that? Yeah. How do you like the land stalker, Fox?
How's the Landmaster, Fox?
And if it blew up, you were on foot.
Yes.
And so being on foot is like the big controversy in those GameCube games, but you'll remember that there was an on foot mode in multiplayer Star Fox 64.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, they have the little bazookas, right? Or little...
Yeah, they look weird. Did you guys ever play the 4-player like multiplayer dogfights on I would with friends, but to be honest with you, it never worked quite right. All you were ever doing was U-turning.
Yeah, you would always be circling each other when it wasn't very fun. But I mean, the N64 was kind of that fun time where you with the four-way split screen. So you tried to have a lot of fun with it.
You know, my favorite part of Star Fox is when you beat the game and they're all walking down that like it's like the Star Wars ending where they all get medals, but they're all just jankily walking up the church aisle to get married.
And then they immediately have to go back to work.
Yeah. Well, I only got a little bit of time off to get these medals.
That was the definitive version. Because after that, like, what do you do? And then they, did the tactical thing with Star Fox Command, which I actually kind of enjoyed, but it's repetitive and it's a different thing. And
that's a DS one, right?
The DS one, yeah.
Yeah, I downloaded that for the Wii U in that year that the eShop was going to be closing. And I was like, I turned it on and it was like, I don't know what the fuck is happening here. So I just had to stop.
Yeah, it's got a tactical element to it, just because that's what they do. They take the like Star Fox 64 and they just like tack shit onto it. Like the Wii U game had like something with the second screen that you could do, which was confusing.
I once heard a wise man say the N64 is not that good, but like all of its top games are like some of the best games ever. Something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
I'm gonna need the name of the wise man because I feel like the twist ending is going to be that it was one of us.
That man was me just now.
Oh, okay.
No, I have no idea. I don't remember. It might have been back when. Remember when the SNES and NES classic minis came out and everybody thought that an N64 one was on the way and people were picking out like what would you put on it, and if you pick 20 titles or something, you're like, wow, that's 20 strong ass titles.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because when you go back to the NES and the Super Nintendo, you got all these videos coming out, but it was like titles that didn't make it that really should be on there. But when you look at the list of N64 games, there's just kind of a general feeling of like, 20 will do.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to go much further, I suppose.
But yeah, the idea of a N64 mini would be appealing, but I feel like the Switch came out and they were just like, those mini consoles were just a stopgap to get them to the Switch, which was popular, and so there was no incentive to like buy up, I don't know, like a bunch of chips to do it.
I mean, there's also the factor that like emulation for N64 has always been this tricky, untouchable thing, kind of. Yeah. But Nintendo have also been getting worse at it since like the Wii, and then the Wii U, and then the Switch, and they've kind of lifted it up a little now. But like the guys who made the console, you think would be able to make the emulation machine, but apparently not.
That's always the assumption. That's what makes rubes like me buy their first party stuff. Where I'm like, yeah, this is going to be some sweet emulation, and it's wasn't it like proven or demonstrated that they used like the open source emulators to make some of the stuff?
No, I think it was proven that they like found ROMs, but I think they made the emulators themselves. That they just like downloaded the games though.
But their emulators did get worse. There was side by side comparisons to like the Wii and this, and yeah, somehow they didn't nail it. And then the Analog's going to come out with their own N64, like their overpriced FPGA systems.
Oh yeah, isn't it many hundreds of dollars, EJ?
I'm sure. It will
You know what? It really it's a testament to my love of the N64 that these analog pockets will come out and I'll go like, I'm not buying that for the Game Boy. What a waste of money. And then they announce an N64 one, and suddenly that money's already gone.
That quick as those sell out immediately.
Okay, so the question might be, it sounds like Dan has a horse in this race. So like, why tag meat riding Jason along for the ride? And we call him a meat rider because he got, man, did he catch shit for tepidly defending Gerard.
That can be my nickname. That's fine. Every time I'm on, I can just be the meat rider.
The meat rider. I thought was ironic was then you went on to make this cool hour and 40-minute long tier list of retro YouTubers, and somewhere around the hour 10 mark, in the drunken haze that was that video, you come across the completionist, and you're like, I don't think he's that good, and you kind of like demoted him. I was like, wow, he caught so much shit for something he didn't even feel that strongly about.
Next we got Gerard the Lard. He's a C. I mean, fucking C for charity fraud.
So why Jason? Well, because as we're chatting about this, a theme amongst our friendship is that Dan will really go to bat for some nostalgic classic N64 games, and Jason's got no time for it. It's he won't push back on everything, but this is an area where he's like, I won't hear it. And I thought we could just kind of let the drama play out. So
let's name the name. Castlevania. Dan fucking loves Castlevania N64. I never played it. It looked like dog shit, so I tried it for like half an hour, like 40 minutes. No. No.
Can I tell you when I've played it one time as well. I was chatting with you guys while I played it, and this was my state of mind. A lady comes over the house and massages my wife and I. Once
Wait, is this Castlevania?
And Jason hates it.
Oh shit, that's not Castlevania 64. I'm sorry, I'm off on a different tangent. Simon Belmont comes to my house and lays my wife out, and I watch whatever it is he does. No, it was look real quick. Nina's mom gifted us 6 1-hour massages. Like, you gift massages to people as a gift, but the catch was that they got to come here, and it's a little strange. Like, lady comes into your living room, sets up a table, and is like, get on it, and she kind of treats your bathroom like it's like the spa's bathroom. I don't know. The whole thing was odd the first time.
Yeah, you just kind of turn the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade on its side and lie down.
The way you talked about it the first time, I didn't think there would be follow-up appointments, but you're just into it now. It's just a thing. I'm
super into it. I'm not just into it. Nina is like a very, I don't know if either of you gentlemen are like this, but she's very like sensitive to the touch. She's like ticklish. And
oh yeah.
So she can't enjoy a massage from a stranger. Like, it's not going to happen. She endures it. And it goes on like that for an hour. And when she finally, arrives afterwards, she's looking at me with wide eyes. Like, I'm so glad it's over with. So I was like, why don't you next time give me the second hour? Let me tell you, 2 hours is too long for a massage. Okay. Oh. it starts to like your nerves start to dull. It's just too much. But while I was in this kind of hazy, hair sticking up state, I wandered into the bedroom and started playing Castlevania 64, and I played it, very loose. So I was like ready for anything. I wasn't ready to quit on this game, but it played to me like a game from the 90s that I would have put up with and can't now, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of like states of mind. You know, people will argue that, you know, like people have like the nostalgia glasses, and the post massage glasses are a new one to me.
There's nostalgia, there's post massage, and there's post Malone. And neither of the twain shall meet. So you're probably gonna make a full blown video about it someday. But what do you like about Castlevania?
It's one of those things. You find yourself as a kid, you know, you play the games you've got. We all know this.
Yeah.
But like I can remember myself making maps of little areas, and I don't know, I was just very drawn into the characters and like the atmosphere of it.
Did you have both or just the one? There's two of them, right?
Oh yeah. I've got both. That's all this will be explored in October, God willing.
Oh, you're gonna do it for a Halloween thing. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, now you've made it onto the tier list and on Jason Graves' channel, so you're a real channel. There's expectations.
You grilled me about not including you guys, but like, despite this video, which is allegedly N64 focused and not massage focused,
Jason's like, the only time you talk about retro games is when you have me on.
That's my impression.
Yeah.
That's me.
Does it sound like him, fellas?
Fucking grateful, Jason. Could be much worse.
The only time you review games is with. I got a comment today, Jason, on our video from last year, the Sega one, from somebody who was really disappointed that we skipped right over Comic Zone because it was too difficult. They were like, if you learn how to play Comic Zone.
Sorry, none of us have.
We've all played for about 5 minutes and we don't understand.
Yeah, he just goes like, oh, lame, and then he dies, and you're just like, nah.
It doesn't take long for me to bitch out of a game. Let's just start with the heavy hitter. Is Mario 64 the definitive 3D Mario game?
No. Well,
but
then what is?
Right.
Because Super Mario 3D World kind of reinvented the Mario in the 2D.
I think it's distinct enough. I don't know if like you're gonna pick one game, that's the one you pick, but it's distinct enough to be like its own thing. Like it hasn't been replaced.
Right.
I think Mario 3D World is kind of like that's always felt to me like that's the 3D Mario that they could have made if they just wanted to adapt straight from the 2D games.
It's the less creative option for going to 3D. But interestingly enough, it probably like the early 3D probably wouldn't have been able to do it as well. They were like, well, if we could just make some 3D environments you can run around in and touch stuff, like that would be better.
The worst parts of Mario 64 are the parts where you actually have to platform. So
yeah, it's true.
And like they had to invent a character with a camera to teach you how to use a camera.
Oh, that's adorable. Yeah.
I mean, if Mario 64 was replaced by anything, in my opinion, it would be Odyssey. Odyssey is the obvious.
Yeah, I think when I was playing Odyssey, when you get to the end and you're in like the Mario 64 room and like you've got the costume and stuff, it wasn't until that moment that I realized that it's kind of like, oh no, there really hasn't been a Mario 64 game since Mario 64.
Yeah.
Because Sunshine, isn't it? And Galaxy's kind of, it's very like linear.
Yeah. Well, when they were revealing Odyssey, there was some Nintendo presentation that was like, all right, we put 3D World and the two Galaxies in one category, and we put Odyssey, Sunshine, and 64 in a second category. But because Sunshine was kind of a miss, I feel like Odyssey really is like the closest thing to and yet I'm not prepared. It's a great game. I love Odyssey, but I'm not prepared to call it oh, you don't need Mario 64. Just go with Odyssey because I think the infinite number of moons detracts.
Yeah, but then you also have the Galaxy games, which are not quite, they're not quite the same thing, but they're evolution and doing its own thing. So I would hesitate to say Mario 64 is a definitive version.
What do your kids think about Mario 64? Because they seem like the kind of kids that would just shit all over it if it didn't hold up.
EJ, your kids sound like scumbags is what Jason's trying to say.
They like it. They actually really liked it. So they were introduced to it after like Mario 3D World. So they were already.
I think case closed then. If they like it, it's the definitive game.
Yeah, my son always said he said that Mario 64 feels good in his bones. That's something he actually said.
Fair enough, man.
I think because it's got a good vibe. I think with the music, and it's just a joy to control Mario. And I think, I don't know, maybe you're right. Maybe it is the definitive version.
I sort of don't think that there is a 3D Mario game that's like another 3D Mario game.
Yeah, they're all distinct flavors, aren't they?
Yeah. Because even Sunshine, I mean, like, you can make a very good argument that Sunshine sucks, but there's nothing else like it, really.
But yeah, are you saying that the two galaxies are basically the same game?
I don't think they are. I really do think 2 is its own flavor from 1, but like at the same time, they're definitely like the most similar out of here to put 2 next to each other.
Diddy Kong Racing for me is like, honestly, that game might be like a top 10, top 15 of all time for me. I fucking love Diddy Kong Racing.
Really?
Yeah.
Of like every game ever?
Yeah, look, I'm not nearly the connoisseur of video games that you are, Jason. Diddy Kong Racing ranks high.
Oh, you know what? I had a joke lined up in my notes that was going to be essentially talking about Mario Kart 64 for a while, and then concluding it with the statement that the best Mario Kart on N64 is Diddy Kong Racing.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Anyway, that was the joke that could have been.
Well, it still could be. That does sound like
I'm not saying it again.
you could edit it for time.
Fuck that. This is all going in.
I found out about Diddy Kong Racing because did you guys? Well, no, not the guys that are in their 20s. They won't know what I'm talking about. Cover your ears, gentlemen. If you were a Nintendo Power subscriber, I think that they would prioritize Nintendo Power subscribers for this, but they all I was not one, and they sent a fucking VHS to my house. Nintendo sent a VHS tape to my house, and I was like, what? And my mom kind of tossed it to me. She's like, I guess this is for you. And I was like, this says Nintendo on it. What? What did they send me? And it was a 20-minute promotion for Diddy Kong Racing with fake newscasters, of the Carl Jobs variety. The joke is that they're doing a newscast about all the crazy happenings that are going on in Diddy, and then as the news story develops, they're like, unlike those other kart games, now he has a hoverboard.
We have just obtained this ultra super secret press release from Nintendo. It appears that Diddy Kong will also be racing new and different vehicles in this adventure, specifically hovercraft.
Which we all know the hoverboard levels were the ones that you actually kind of dreaded, but playing in car, you were there every day.
I was in the kitchen. I had just made a banana coconut casserole. It was his favorite. He said he was going out to look at a hovercraft, and he never came back. I think he felt like he needed something more action, more thrills, more horsepower. I miss my monkey!
Yeah, I remember they used to send those VHSs, and I got one for Starfox 64.
Yes.
And there was some weird plot. They had a Mario doll hooked up to electricity, and they were torturing it. I'm not really sure why.
It was they were from Sony. They were PlayStation guys. They were disguised as UPS drivers.
Right.
And they kidnapped one of the game developers from Nintendo. And I remember, I don't know why, me and my friend Keith would always say it is from this fucking tape. The PlayStation guys would go, pizza for Bob, Bob? And then the Nintendo guy goes,
yeah, but I didn't order any pizza.
And then they open the pizza hauntingly, and green gas comes out, and it makes him pass out. And then they were able to hook him and Mario up to electrodes, and it was all to advertise the Rumble Pack ultimately.
Check this out.
I remember being charmed, and I probably watched it a few times, being I can't believe I got this for free.
I know. I still feel that way. I'm like, this is a good deal. Well, all right, let's get to it so that Dan can maybe do his joke. Mario Kart 64, is it in any way the definitive Mario Kart?
My stance would be that it's not, but I think it still stands as it still has an identity. I don't think it has been erased by the later games. Whereas if you're
walking it back because we played it last night and it sucked.
No, I will admit nothing. Look, I would still rather play that game than the Wii one.
I would never play the Super Nintendo one.
That's not a game, EJ. That's like Star Fox 2. That shit didn't happen. Let's just forget about that.
I agree. Interesting you bring up the Wii one, because don't a lot of people like the Wii one?
I like the Wii. What's wrong with the Wii one? What do you got against the Wii one?
I think
it sold it was the most sold game on that platform. I think
it's on its way to something I can enjoy, but the having the gimmick there at all. Now we're talking about maybe using the classic controller to play Mario Kart. Go fuck yourself. So there's that element. Look, I have an automatic bias against the Wii, the DS, and the 3DS, and the Wii U. I have bias against all four of them because none of them can be easily emulated onto a generic console, and that makes me feel like they're kind of fake video games.
They're fake toys for babies.
Yeah, that's a baby's toy.
That's like a baby's toy.
But those are the best, like, Mario Kart games. You missed when Mario Kart got good, so...
No, I didn't. Because I believe that Double Dash is personally the best Mario Kart game.
I don't know. There's something wrong about it. There's something wrong about the Double Dash.
It feels too busy and hectic. I don't know. There's no...
Not unlike this podcast. This is the Double Dash of podcasts. I have a question. Do you distinguish, as I do, racing games from kart racing games? Are they kind of two distinct ideas? Or is a racer a racer?
I mean, they can be different.
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't lump in Mario Kart with, like, Cruising USA.
No.
That's kind of what I'm saying. It's like Diddy Kong and even like in Lego Racing, it's got items, right?
Yeah.
Mario Kart. I think that's very much its own thing. And then Cruising USA, Beetle Adventure Racing, which a lot of people, I've played it a bit. It's not quite as good as people say it is. It's just driving the fuck around. But for me, for my money, the best racing game, because I'm not going to dethrone Diddy Kong anytime soon, but the best nuts and bolts racing game would be Episode 1 Racer for sure.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Like, it's not even close. Like Cruising USA, San Francisco Rush, they got nothing on Episode 1.
Welcome to Watto's shop, huh? Take a look around.
I kind of think, I don't know if I'd put that in the same kind of league.
Yeah, I almost feel like that's closer to Mario Kart.
Yeah, because it's
There's no items.
It's too interesting. F1 racer and shit like that.
I think Dan hit the nail on the head. There's boring racers and then there's interesting racers. That's the definitive line, not if there's items.
Well, I would put Episode 1 in the same category at least as Extreme G. You ever play Extreme G?
Oh, hang on a minute. Is this the F-Zero game? Or?
Well, there is an F-Zero game.
Well, yeah, F-Zero is very similar. It's, these the whole point is like we're going really fast,
Yeah, so I'd be inclined to put that F-Zero and Episode 1 together. That's fine.
All right, so we've got three distinct categories. We've got like fast kind of space racers, right? Episode 1, Extreme G, F-Zero X. We got boring arcade racers, San Francisco Rush, Beetle Adventure Racing, Cruising USA, Cruising World. Fuck yourself, Cruising World. And then kart racing games.
Yeah. There's nothing really like Gran Turismo on N64 where it's like a simulation.
Right. Or Daytona. Daytona!
Let's go away.
What shows up in everybody's lists is Battlecore or Battle Corps. How do you pronounce it?
Blast? Wait.
Are you thinking of Blast Corps?
Blast Corps?
Not Battle. I'm sorry. Blast.
Yeah, okay.
Blast Corps. I tried to play it recently, and I was like, "This sucks balls. I don't want to play this."
That's a rare game, right? That's a rare game.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. It had a sense of humor about itself too, which I was resenting while I played it.
There's a game on the N64 Online called Winback, and that thing is unplayable. I don't know what it's doing in there. Like. It's just crap. It's like a third-person shooter, but it's just so janky and.
Oh yeah, I know this game.
I love the NSO because like you'll have all the standard Nintendo gems, and then you'll have whatever third-party horseshit that they can get the license to.
Yeah. You load it up and it says there's something new to play.
The car turns around, it's just a turd.
Wasn't there was some, what was that game that was from Japan that is on NSO that everybody loves?
Sin and Punishment?
That's the one. Yep. Sin and Punishment. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh man, I played that for like 5 minutes one time.
Yeah. I remember there was so much hype because it was like, it's a forbidden fruit game. It wasn't
it's like here. Space Harrier, but newer. I don't freaking know. Who cares?
Yeah. And so I downloaded it when it was on the Wii Virtual Console, and I played. That was because I bought into the hype. It's an imported game. I played it for 5 minutes, and I was like, "This fucking sucks."
All right, what about Duke Nukem, Doom 64, Quake? I'll throw the Turoks in there too. That's all part of the same thing, isn't it? The shitty first-person shooters on that.
I messed with some Doom 64. That's a pretty good game.
Yeah, Doom 64 is cool. It's just like if you like Doom, it's more Doom.
It's more Doom.
Goldeneye obviously is a big game on the N64, but it didn't really. I mean, there was a Goldeneye for a GameCube, was there not?
Yeah, so there's the Wii game, which is a remake, which is bizarre. They did it with Daniel Craig instead of Pierce Brosnan, and it was like if it was a Daniel Craig film, this would be the game of that.
Hey, James. For England?
For England, Alec. Always for England.
So there's a theme here, which is that like they make a great game for N64, everybody loves, everybody anticipates a follow-up. And then they're like, I got nothing. All I can do is remake the game with Daniel Craig. Whether it's Mario 64 or Starfox or whatever. All I can do is remake it with Daniel Craig.
It's like Star Wars The Force Awakens. You might not realize Daniel Craig's in it, but he's in there.
He's in there.
What did you say?
And like, what are we talking about with GoldenEye? Like GoldenEye is a place in time. Are we talking about there was no good James Bond games after that? Are we talking about...
If you think about like the type of game, it's kind of improved upon on the N64 with Perfect Dark. And then from there you go to like Time Splitters 2. It's like, I don't know, it's strange because it's like you're not really talking about James Bond games, are you? You're talking about the genre.
Yeah, what they did, like the mission-based kind of first-person shooter.
Yeah.
You either grew up with GoldenEye or it's awful. I think it's awful. I didn't grow up with it, so.
Yeah, well, I actually didn't own it, so I also agree. It's awful.
Like, it's not even, like, passably okay. It's just why was this popular awful? That's
because you could shoot stuff and it looked pretty good at the time.
Yeah. I don't know. I think some stuff is still playable. Some stuff kind of just doesn't age the same. Like, you know, you wouldn't catch EJ's kids saying that GoldenEye feels good in his bones.
No, they won't.
I was gonna say earlier, South Park is somewhat like some of the games that I googled most popular N64 games, and it's similar to some of these where it's like it was really big on the console and nobody gives a fuck about it now, or even actively dislikes it. Actually, I mean, people are of course fond for GoldenEye, but I just don't really think people are like jonesing to play it necessarily.
People fucking defend it to the death, though.
What about Perfect Dark? They like that too?
There's this one girl that really likes it.
Jason really likes that one girl. So.
Who is she?
Forrestler? F-O? I don't know how to pronounce the name. There's an autistic, obsessed Perfect Dark girl.
Oh, sounds awesome.
Yeah, for some reason, Perfect Dark just doesn't stick with me. I had them both, but GoldenEye was... I don't know, it's simpler. You know, it's got the James Bond music, which always... It gets you going for a shooting fight. And then the dynamic with like choosing your character for the 4-way fighting and people fighting over Odd Job.
Yeah, you had all like the secrets and like the big head mode cheats and all that kind of. You know, there was a lot of stuff that kind of came from that. It still plays well if you play it on the Rare Replay collection when they added it to that.
Oh yeah.
And they've kind of fixed up the controls. Yeah, it's still good. It's just I don't know. It's tricky because of the console it was on.
Also not easily emulatable. Not with those C buttons. More bullshit from N64.
You know what is good, though? That's, like, not a first-person shooter, but you shoot things plenty. Conker's Bad Fur Day is pretty good.
It's great. I played it on Rare Replay as well, and I was having a good old time. I am the great mighty Pooh.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you.
Is it good?
Yeah, come on.
I don't know. I mean, like, it's got the humor, and I like the tone that it goes for. It's got a lot of variety in it. I think all that's great. But because it tries to do so much, so like when you've got an army level, the controls are all over the place, and then you get in a tank in the same stage, and it changes completely.
Yeah, it's a very gimmicky game.
Do you think it's worse than Banjo-Kazooie? I think it's like the same shit as Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, no. I think Banjo-Kazooie is much like tighter in the controls.
Dang, where were the Simpsons games on N64? They just skipped it.
Oh my god, so true.
Oh yeah,
I would love a janky N64 Simpsons game.
Dude, that would be awesome.
But then if you look at the Simpsons games that showed up to PS1,
there weren't any PlayStation's games at all, were there?
There's like the wrestling game, right?
Yeah.
For Simpsons?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a wrestling game, yeah.
Wrestling?
Yes, It's weird. It's as weird as it sounds.
Howdy ho!
You think the Simpsons were like Square Enix and they were just like, man.
Simpsons were Square Enix. Could you imagine?
They were like, yeah, they don't have a disc, so we think we can tell our stories better over on the PlayStation.
Speaking of wrestling,
yeah,
I played the N64 wrestling games today.
Oh my god. Can you talk to me about them?
I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm you with RPGs.
Which one did you play? Because to me, there's only
I played. I don't remember the name. It was a WWF game, and the title screen was like dick diggity.
Oh yeah. Dick diggity dog.
Diggity dog.
Yeah, that's the one I've tried. I wanted to play as China, but she wasn't in like the ladies, and I was just scrolling through all the characters. They treated her as a man in that game.
Yeah, which is actually how it worked in the wrestling roster, to be honest with you. She didn't really.
She would wrestle men?
Yeah, she like would win like the Intercontinental Championship. She was like a real like.
Well, I've seen her. She looks like she could beat up half the wrestlers. So
yeah. Well, I could show you how to play that game, and then I think you get into the swing of it. It's quite fun.
All right, let's all take 5. Frankie's going to run Jason through them.
Yeah, I'll show you how to play as Mankind. They have a good story mode too that follows like a year of wrestling, wrestling storylines. Yeah, it's great. But I think the WCW NWO one, I think that's the one. It's the same exact game. It was made by THQ, right? And
I thought that one was bad. I thought people hated that one.
Maybe that one. There's another there's a WCW one that is the same exact game as the WWF one. Like how the licensing worked out on that, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's because they use the same engine.
Yeah, they probably just hired the same company to make the game. So.
But I just don't understand how I guess the wrestling companies just didn't give a shit to be like, hey, that's
they're just like, hey, get a video game out.
People like the other one.
One of them paid for that engine. You know?
Honestly, if you're WCW, like that's probably smart. Just be like, hey, same company that made WWF game, just do the same thing with our guys.
True.
Like people will buy it.
WCW always had more money too, though, because they were backed by Ted Turner.
Right.
Well, anyway, okay, so back on topic because we've just gone way off topic, and that's okay. I don't give a shit.
Were we ever on topic this time?
No, yeah, we can just this will be the time that we don't care about.
Back to the massage.
She's very cautious with me. She's very like.
Yeah, talk more about the massage. No, I'm not even kidding. Like, this is good.
She handles my analog stick very well.
Who's making the box art for Frankie Massage 64?
Massage 64.
You should just have her like put the rumble pack on your back, and then like during like a really intense cutscene, it's like,
she's like, did anything? You want to change anything up? Do we want to do anything different than last time? I'm like, I stick a rumble pack in her palm, and I'm like, do you feel that? And she's like, no, you need to connect it to a controller. So EJ had Resident Evil 2 on his TV a couple of podcasts ago, and it got a lot of love in the comments. People love that game, huh? That particular version.
Well, that particular version is kind of like a miracle because the PlayStation one is 2 discs with full motion video and lots of pre-rendered backgrounds and voice samples. So porting it to the N64 seems kind of impossible. And there's a modern vintage gamer video where he like breaks down all the way they compress things to get everything onto the cart. And it still looks good. Like you play it and it's not bad.
Hang in there, Ben.
Is it both routes?
Yeah, it's the whole game.
I'm impressed now.
Even bonus content, yeah. All the voice samples. I mean, everything's compressed and it's some of the textures are compressed, but it's like I don't know. It looks good. Like if you're playing on a dumb CRT of the 90s, you wouldn't even be. You'd be like, oh, I have it. You have it on the PlayStation. I have it on the N64. No big deal. And yeah, it was great.
So, it's finally over. Sherry, you look terrible.
No worse than you, Claire.
You know, we got to talk about the Zeldas. I kind of want to like almost skip right to Majora's Mask because I'm like, there's no other Zelda game like Majora's Mask, right?
Yeah.
Curious. That's a great example of like, what do we do with this? And it's like you get real creative.
So the thing that I would say is like Ocarina of Time. There's an epicness to that game that like they've just been trying to copy since. Which, I mean, like everyone knows, but it's like that game will show up on all these lists of the best game of all time, yada yada. But it actually, when you go back to it and play it, there's something in there that like it is like unique. They haven't got that again.
Yeah. There's like a confidence to it. And yeah, like when you break down like, oh, what's actually epic about it, you can't really put your finger because it's like there's only like a few cutscenes here and there, and they're if you like dissect the cutscenes, they're kind of janky, but I think it's the music it brings you into that place. It's just the way they did the animation. Like you look at the animation in that game, it's just like the way Link all the motion of his frames as he's like speeding up and slowing down, and he's trying to grab things. It looks very natural. And playful in ways that I think even the 3DS version kind of ruined, I would say.
Do you think that having a much more contained world map could actually enhance the epic feeling where you're like, I kind of lord over this space and, I'm like intimately involved in the story as opposed to having like way too much ground to traverse, even Wind Waker with the sailboat stuff.
See, I would kind of, this is where I would take it to Majora's Mask because Majora's Mask is the smaller game. But because you've got the running clock and the 3 days going round and round, it's like everyone is always doing something, all the characters. So it's like, it's a smaller world, but it feels much more alive. I think that's what sets that one apart from all the others. So I don't know, that kind of always made Majora's Mask feel bigger to me. Whereas in Ocarina of Time, you're on a bigger adventure.
Yep.
But you're not stopping to talk to anyone. That's the difference, I think.
The dichotomy. And it does feel like Nintendo was chasing Ocarina of Time like afterwards with, Twilight Princess is basically the same structure, and then all those other ones. Wind Waker is pretty much the same structure, but like kind of ocean and
it's really just those two. I mean, because after that, like what have you got? The Skyward Sword, which kind of takes some half steps towards what Breath of the Wild ends up being, and then Breath of the Wild is completely its own thing. So I don't know, but yeah, no, I don't think that there has been a Zelda quite like Ocarina of Time since.
No. But Majora's isn't that much more unique in your view?
I think Majora is much more unique.
Well, yeah,
but
they're almost two different sides of a coin.
They're the greatest duology in like games ever, I think.
Yeah.
The Ocarina of Time is like a big adventure, and then Majora's Mask is like you slow it down, and then it's more contained and introspective. Like that's just the way it is. They got extrospective and then introspective. Those are
I mean, you can decide to follow the fucking postman, and he's doing something different every day. It's
Majora's Mask's moodier. It kind of has that Link's Awakening feel, where it's a little Twin Peaksy. You got the quirky characters you interact with, and you get to know real well. I
like Snowboard Kids more than I like 1080.
I like 1080.
Who's with me? Any other Snowboard Kids around here?
Nobody's gonna fight you. I'm a Cool Borders guy. Come on, Cool Borders too.
I have no horse in this race. So
in the waterboarding race.
The waterboarding.
I'll tell you this. I think
get the information faster.
Okay, I got it. Ready? Here's a definitive franchise installment. Pokemon Snap for N64.
Well, there's a new one now.
In the Pokemon Snap franchise, there's only two, and one of them blows, and one of them's the N64 one.
You know what? I agree. The new one does kind of blow. They make you replay the levels too many times, and it's not like a puzzle game like the original. It's more just like you didn't get enough, so go back.
And the characters talk so much in between things.
Lord.
It's like you're slamming that A button over and over and over.
I feel like anytime the Switch tries to revive something like old and pure, it just comes out.
You got Jason cracking up at old and pure.
You're calling Pokemon Snap old and pure. That's
what? I've never played it. I'm just trying to,
They've resurrected something old and pure. Pokemon Snap. Do any of the Mario parties? I mean, people love 2, right?
Oh yeah, they're all the definitive ones.
Oh,
like they didn't get better.
Wow.
What do you mean? I'm not kidding. They didn't. Like 2 and 3 are the best ones.
There's like fucking 15 of those games on the GameCube alone. I don't know.
I've played
how
very few of
do
them.
you measure a mountain?
Yeah, I can't even tell you which ones
you were an
I played.
N64 kid, but you didn't have like a lot of Mario parties. You didn't.
No,
play them?
I had a friend who had, like, I remember I went to a New Year's Eve 2000 party.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and we played a little bit of Party, and I was like, this is fine and all, but Wave Race is right there. Starfox
You were just getting your
right
asses. You were just getting your ass kicked. You just didn't want to play anymore.
Well, it's better than a regular board game, I'll grant you, but it's a board game.
I do kind of feel like since they brought out Mario Party Superstars, they've sort of that covers all the bases for like.
No,
the
I
old
mean,
ones.
like it brings back the mini games, but like the boards are still, they're much better. There's more going on in the N64 ones, so it's just
yeah. No. I mean, to be fair, there weren't lawsuits because kids were giving themselves stigmata.
That's just the first one. The first one is kind of nonsense. The mini games, there's a lot of mashing mini games. There's a lot of rotate the stick mini games. They learned their lesson. They lightened them up in 2 and 3.
Yeah, they sent out a glove, didn't they? They sent out a glove to people who
If
wanted
you complained about your hand, they would send out a glove. Yeah.
If you permanently scarred your hand from playing Mario Party, Nintendo sent you a special glove.
Does Star Wars have any special distinctions on the N64? I certainly think so.
I really enjoy. What one is it? Is it Shadows of the Empire?
Yes.
Shadows of the Empire is the launch window one.
Launch window.
Yeah, that one's really good.
The creators of that also did Rogue Squadron, and they're like, we basically were trying to figure out how to develop on this thing, and we really like Rogue Squadron better. Like we liked what we did with the flight simulation stuff in Shadows, and we decided to just make a whole game of that. It's like they didn't really want to stand behind their first person levels, but I really like the first person shooter levels in Shadows. You know what I really like? The Hoth level where you're walking around the hallways, you're killing Wampas. You have to shoot the Wampa 1 billion times. And then when you come out to like this landing area at the end of the hallway, and there's a little snowtrooper way up in the distance on a little ledge, and you just pew him, and he gives you a Wilhelm scream if you're lucky.
But that Shadows of the Empire thing was just so cool. Just like when the looped Star Wars music just is playing, and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm in the movie.
And anything that wasn't John Williams music was the worst music ever. Do you remember the main menu music? It was like bum 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 bum.
And like it was during the time where they're releasing all of the toys for a movie that didn't exist.
It's a fascinating thing. Never before or since can I think of an example of like, what if we launched a project that was basically a movie premiere, but like there's never a movie. Like, but you get the video game, you get the comic book, you get the action figures, you get a book, but there's just no movie. That's all.
Yeah, they were at the time. It was still that kind of like Dark Forces Jedi Knight bubble, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I would put Shadows of the Empire kind of alongside those. It's of that era.
Even now, when I'm watching the original trilogy, I'll hear music from that film and be like, "Oh, that's the music from Jedi Knight."
No, I agree. For a long time, especially the Empire. A lot of the Empire music, I internalized as video game music. You know, I do find it fascinating. Dan you're like 10 years younger than me, right? Or like 9 years?
It's something like that.
That's like I would think that would make you really young for JK. Because I was in 7th grade when I was playing it, which was like perfect.
Probably about, I don't know, five or six. I was playing that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense. But that must mean that when you were 5 or 6, that was like your introduction to computers, basically. Yeah, like PC gaming.
Oh yeah, no, there was that. There was Batman Activity Center.
Game of the year.
And there was Noddy, Let's Get Ready for School.
Here it comes, everybody!
Why is it that for Switch, like Dark Forces Remastered, Jedi Outcast, like we're getting every game that doesn't matter? Nobody can get up the cojones to give me a JK?
This one eludes me. It must be important.
I remember the online scene was pretty robust. There was a lot of people online playing that game. And it was a complete revelation that I could, like, at nighttime, pop on the computer and play multiplayer. Like, because I had an older sister. She couldn't be fucked to play couch co-op with me, and then she actually moved out when I was like 11. And so I was like an only kid. I loved having a friend over to play I loved multiplayer games, and we just never could. But suddenly I was able to connect over TCP IP to a friend. And, like when you're that age, you always want to be hanging out with your friends. So like you're either on the phone all the time or whatever, because you can't always like just be sleeping over each other's houses on the weekdays. But we would play the shit out of JK, and that felt so novel. It felt like a cheat. Like, this is a way we can all hang out and play video games together with it. And now, of course, that's just baked into the culture. But back then, it felt like we were getting around something. There was a multiplayer stage for that game that, like, I feel like every time I played, I was in that thing. It was called Canyon Oasis. Do you remember Canyon Oasis from when you were 5?
No.
Dude, I'm going to send you links after this. We spend all of our time in this one stupid level. It's like, I don't know, just the worst textures ever. All of them repeating.
Fucking beautiful.
But you had that like missile launcher. You just ran around with that because they littered the stage with like the guns that you couldn't get until like the 7th or 8th stage in single player. And you just blew each other away. Oh, I want to play right now. I never really cared for Dark Forces though, the first one.
It's okay.
It's just Doom, right? It's just
Doom.
Yeah, pretty much. Is that the first one where you can jump or something? I know it's got something going for it.
Maybe. In Shadows of the Empire, there's too much animation on the jump. It's like highly animated, and he makes a little like a little sexual noise. He goes, "Ha." So you just keep jumping in place. You just keep getting, "Ha, ha."
Frankie's masseuse knows that noise well.
Oh, Francis. That's the jumping sound effect from Shadows of the Empire.
When you get that nod out, you release a ha.
I know I've done a good job when he goes, ha.
As an outsider to the Star Wars games, I'm going to guess that they all fail the EJ Kid test.
Yeah, they don't even know what Star Wars is, basically. I haven't showed them yet.
I mean, the thing about kids is they're very much like adults, which is like if you're like unfamiliar with it, they're like, ugh, I don't want it then. I mean, that's definitely how Gloria is. Like, I have to wait sometimes for her to become interested in something. You were talking earlier about EJ's kids liking Mario 64. I remember being a kid and I just enjoyed running around the castle. I just enjoyed doing the moveset basically. And I kind of feel the same way about Shadows of the Empire. I just kind of liked moving around as those characters.
Yeah, it's a funny thing when you look back because a lot of the nostalgia is just for kind of not even playing the game.
Right.
Like if you look at Mario Kart on Royal Raceway, you can just like fuck off to the side and drive around by the castle.
Gloria loves it. Most notably when is it Princess's course there? Where you can steer off into the castle and just have a good time over by the castle.
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about.
Yeah, right, exactly. There's very few modern games where I pop them on just to fuck around and not care about the consequences whatsoever. And N64 is filthy with those kinds of games. Like as we talk through it, I'm like, I really want to plop down with some No Mercy and just like bounce off the ropes, punch a guy, run all the way up the ramp to the Titantron, run all the way back, jump off the top rope, get knocked off the top rope, steal a board from the audience. You can try to bust somebody open, get them bleeding. It's a great game.
Yeah, my son's been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom, and I think it has a lot of that like playfulness that like I've lost because I'm an adult, and so like he just like grabs torches and like lights all the ones that are around like Lookout Landing after it rains, and he just like waits for it to rain, like lights them all again or whatever, and sees like
at this point it sounds like he's a straight up gamer.
Like he definitely likes gaming.
Yeah.
But it's fun to see him play the game and be like, I don't care about any objectives. And and especially now as an adult, I'm so objective based and I want to clear out every objective.
Yeah, there's definitely like a time when you're just excited to be the guy on the screen and stuff and you're running around from that. And it's like, well, it does disappear pretty quick.
Unless you podcast, then you really enjoy being the guy on the screen. No way that Smash is a definitive version that, that's the prototype Smash. I think you could argue, it would be easy to argue that Ultimate is the ultimate, but I think Melee is kind of the quintessential. Although somebody, Jason, I believe, said Brawl, and I've been hearing that.
I love Brawl. I mean, if you ignore the competitive stuff, whatever. Like, none of us play competitive. I know that, but like, I think it just has more stuff. Like, the game is like game demos and like the trophies and like the coin game, and it's just chock full of so much like bonus features that Melee doesn't have a finger on it with that.
With the subspace emissary. Or
not even to mention the single player. Yeah, there's a whole ass single player campaign with cutscenes and
it was like the Final Fantasy guy like wrote the story. Or whatever.
Wasn't there a
story? Quote unquote.
Wasn't there some online shit that you could get from Brawl, like in drips and drabs?
The hell are you talking about?
Every few weeks they would release something for it.
You're thinking of before the game came out, they would release an image every day, I think. Like a new image of the game.
Let's just move on from that senior moment. Dan, do you have any titles you'd like to discuss with us?
Well, what I thought would be a fun thing to kind of think about. What about games that went to the N64 to die?
Oh, the opposite of the discussion.
Pretty good.
That's it. Yeah. Okay, do you have some?
So if you look at like the Mystical Ninjas, they have the fans and stuff, and they seem like all right games, but they do just they appear on the N64, they're never heard from again.
Were they on any other system ever?
Yeah, the Super Nintendo. Oh, then after that,
no, they just kind of stopped. I mean, like you've got other ones, you know, like Donkey Kong that shows up in 3D once and then retreats very slowly back to 2D about 2 decades later, something like that.
That's an excellent point. They've never had the confidence to do another collect-a-thon Donkey Kong game.
Yeah. And I mean, if not for that game, what music would EJ's Donkey Kong Arcade play when it starts up?
Exactly.
Here we go.
Earthworm Jim died on the N64, and that was it for him.
Oh, that's a great point. Did he have 1 or 2 on the N64?
Just one. Only took 1.
Yeah, to kill him. Good.
That was it.
Did you like the 2D Earthworm Jim games?
They're okay.
Yeah, because there's a lot of the same team that did like Aladdin or whatever, and they came over to Shiny to make those games, and they look great, but I think they play kind of like ass.
Exactly what you just said.
I'm trying to think if there's any other games we didn't talk about. I mean, there's of course.
There's tons.
Well, we're not going to name every single game, but I just don't want any shit from some pedantic cunt in the comments.
Right, I'll give you one. We didn't talk about Bomberman at all, and there's some pretty unique Bomberman games on the 64. There's 3 of them. There's Bomberman 64 and Bomberman 64 Second Attack, which are kind of like top-down, like overhead, like sort of more what you associate with Bomberman, but they're also like adventure games.
Oh, that sounds fun.
But then there's Bomberman Hero, which is like a legitimate 3D platformer with Bomberman. So,
What about Mega Man?
That's good. I mean, Mega Man 64. I mean, it's Mega Man Legends. It's the same game, but it controls better on 64. So obviously, like the voices aren't as good, and I mean, it's not seen as like the definitive version of the game. But I like how it controls more. I mean, Mega Man Legends, if you've never played it, is like a dumpy 3D action adventure game. It's pre-Ocarina of Time, so it's very much still in the growing pains. It's kind of like a shittier version of that, I guess. Like the dungeons in Mega Man Legends are straight up like 2D hallways. I mean, they're in 3D, but like you're walking through hallways. There's no like verticality at all to it. It's just kind of like mazes that you could have had on the Super Nintendo. But anyway, it's a decent game though.
Yeah, there's a nice kind of quality to listen to you describe something as shitty Ocarina of Time.
Well, I mean, structurally, it's a very small game. Like, it doesn't try to be as epic as Ocarina of Time. Imagine like a more Majora's Mask type setting, and that there's one central town, and everything kind of just branches off from that one town. And there's just kind of like objectives to complete all in like one centralized area. Obviously, there's no clock or anything, but it's got the same kind of like intimacy, I guess. You get to know the town.
What's that platform everybody loves? It's like the quintessential fucking hidden gem. What's it called?
Mischief Makers?
Mischief Makers. Thank you.
The Shake game?
Yeah, Shake. Yeah, that game sucks too.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a weird one because we vacationed in North Carolina and we went to the local like rental place, and they had the Japanese version. It's called Troublemakers in Japan. And I remember it on the shelf. I'm like, what the heck is this Japanese game? So I re-rented it. And yeah, it was just like in Japanese, and it was just like shake in Japanese. It's like, okay. And then I rented it again as Mischief Makers. I'm like, this game didn't get any better translated.
I'm trying to think. I think we might be at the bottom of the barrel now. There's Yoshi's Story. There's Excite Bike.
Oh,
Yoshi's Story ain't got nothing. But
yeah, Yoshi's Story's trash.
I feel a little bit bad for the Yoshi games because I think that they went somewhere. They improved over time. I think that Woolly World, if you've never played it on Wii U, is pretty good. It's like pretty similar to Yoshi's Island, honestly, and so too is Crafted World, which is very if you play that with a small girl, which hopefully your daughter, not
just anyone, find one.
Just find one off the street.
It's very adorable. Like if adorable is what you want in your game.
Yeah, Frankie, you mentioned Mario Tennis, I think was another one.
Yes. Well, I think we can all agree that's the best of the Mario Tennises. I do like Power Shot a lot, though, I will say. GameCube. And the Wii one's the same one.
Yeah, they kind of, again, like Mario Kart, they do seem to like add in gimmicks as it goes along.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? It's like, where do you go with some of these concepts? And that's why they just remake them with Daniel Craig. Oh, what about golf for 64?
Mario Golf? It's good.
Mario Golf.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. I remember Toadstool Tour came out for GameCube and being like, Mario Golf 64 was better.
It's a lot of Mario on
there's no bad Mario on N64. That's the thing. There's no Mario teaches typing. There's no Mario time machine. There's no like dumb
Mario
nonsense.
Hotel Mario or whatever the hell.
Yeah, if it has Mario in the name on N64, it's good.
So maybe that's the console where they stopped fucking with Mario too much. But it is also kind of it's the console where they began Mario Sports generally.
Yeah. Made by the same people who made Shining Force. I should point that out. They hired the Shining Force people to make the Mario sports games to every Shining fan's dismay because they've been doing it ever since. Plus we got more sports games. You can play Madden in first person on the 64. That's pretty unique and cool. Right?
Who gives a fuck?
I went to a used game store recently, and if you just like look at the bargain bin shelf,
it's all sports.
And it's filled with NFL Quarterback Club 98. It's just like one after another. You could probably redo your wall with NFL Quarterback Club 98.
It's got Brett Favre on the cover. It's iconic.
The one genre of N64 games that did not appreciate.
Yeah, you could buy it for like $1.
It's crazy, man. Like I'll people talking about how game prices are starting to improve a little bit. COVID was kind of the worst of it, but Facebook Marketplace, which is where you would expect the better deals because those are the people being like, just come pick it up. They'll be like, for $500 or something, you get 5 GameCube games that are all pretty good and a GameCube. It's $500.
I was actually thinking about the prices recently with N64 games, and I noticed that unlike with other systems, there's not a lot of huge outliers, but the median game is still pretty high. Like, if you want to get a quality N64 game, it's like $50-$60, but there's nothing that's like $500 that's like good that you'd want to play. There's like Clay Fighter, there's like weird variants like the Sculptor's Cut or whatever, and I think like Bomberman 64 2 is like $150 or something. But other than that, it's like everything's like $100 or under that you'd want to play. And for the Super Nintendo, like that's not the fucking case at all. So
yeah. Those are just totems anyway. Just get an EverDrive.
Yeah, just get an EverDrive, guys. Get a Raspberry Pi.
Pokemon Stadium. Anybody ever play that?
Oh hell, we played that last night, and I destroyed Dan's asshole.
Whoa!
It wasn't a fair fight because he barely knows what Pokemon is. Dan would fail probably like half of like name that Pokemons from the show, so it wasn't a fair fight at all.
Wait, do you need to know a lot about Pokemon to be effective in the game?
So like battle, yes. I mean, it has a huge competitive scene. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like basically rock, paper, scissors. So if you don't know all the types and the type weaknesses.
In like my spare time, I play in like an actual Pokemon league, and Dan barely knows the Pokemon. So it wasn't a fair fight at all.
Yeah. In fact, when we first started up, I didn't realize the screen would scroll.
He picked the first 6 Pokemon that were on the list because they thought that was everyone. They thought that was all of them.
That game, I do think the thing that can't, this isn't really a good advertisement for it as a Pokemon game on its own. But the fact that it came with the little pack that you could plug in, and you could play the Game Boy games on it, That
The
was
awesome thing about
fantastic.
that, you can play it in triple speed. You can speed the Game Boys up to 3 times and play it that way.
Yeah, so that's a
Yeah.
way you can grind really
Yeah.
fast. Yeah.
This was okay. So Pokemon Stadium came out during the time when Red and Blue were out.
Oh yeah, and then they made a 2, which was for Gold and Silver.
And Jason, you must have been like 5, 6 when these games came out.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I played the hell out of them like when I was a little older. I didn't have an N64 until I was like 10 or 11. I used birthday money and got a system with a whole bunch of games for $20. I remember that.
Wow.
At a game store, like an actual game store. We went there. It's the same one. It's this gold one back here.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. I mean, I played the hell out of Pokemon Stadium. Like I've beaten the game with like rental Pokemon, which is a flex if you know anything about those games.
It does feel like the kind of game that if I had owned it as a child, it's just the kind of game you can get like into the groove of, you start to get really good at it for no good reason.
Well, you know what it is though, right? It's literally just battles. Like there's no like RPG portion. It's just you battle the Pokemon. We could keep thinking of N64 games forever. I mean, we didn't mention Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey, which is like the NBA Jam of sports games. That's a good one.
Who gives a fuck?
Exactly.
Well, here's my definitive N64 game.
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's Wave Race 64.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, which also is I mean, I don't want to say it went to N64 to die because there was a GameCube one.
There's a GameCube one, but it's not as good.
It's not nearly as good.
That's kind of comparable to Starfox.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where it went to the GameCube to die.
Yeah, that one, yeah. That's definitely didn't go to the N64 to die.
It's like it died abroad and then you had to get the body shipped to the next console.
Come on. Weekend at Bernie's Wave Race.
I think Wave Race 64 holds up, man. I
love it.
It was like a launch window game. I remember getting it the same Christmas that I got the N64, and I didn't even like realize it was a thing. And I played a lot, and I love the water physics. I think were really unique, and you know what? I'm gonna say that it's the definitive like water sport jet ski game ever. Like, you know how like PlayStation had like Jet Moto or some shit. No,
I was about to say it's a fairly niche genre, but yeah.
Yeah, but it did it. It did it, and it did well. You got the tricks. You could do the trick mode. You could. Yeah. I always even just liked, when you do warm-up time, follow that dolphin. You just follow the dolphin around.
And when you finish a race, it's oh. Whoever that guy is, you did it.
And they have that like really the chunky wave racer guy. He's like fat,
so we could all feel seen. Like I'm gonna get some waves with my big bod. Also, by the way, that's another example of the emulation for Nintendo Switch, the fog distance thingy. Wave Race 64. There's a level in particular. It's like kind of like in marshlands,
Oh yeah.
And that has a lot of that sort of thing.
Sorry, Frankie, you clipped out there. Was that Massage Lands?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, it was Massage Lands.
Yes, it was in the Massage Lands of...
Was it Drake Lake or whatever it's called? Yeah, I like it because all the other ones have waves, and that one's just nice and smooth. And it has the fog that like lifts as you do turns in the course. The fog lifts and you can see more. That's really cool.
You know what? Wave Race 64 is like a massage. It's very relaxing. Like when they announce like a new stage, they're like Lake Drake. And they want you to chill out. They want you that blue ocean, those sunsets that's in that game. Just on the topic of water skiing games, we've been playing some Wii lately, and we were playing Wii Resort, and there is a water. I don't want to call it waterboarding. What's it called? Wakeboarding. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
And you you tilt it left and right to turn left and right, but then you flick it horizontally. You know what I'm saying? You're holding it horizontally and you kind of flick it up and down, and that you have to do that like as a wave is approaching you, and then you can do a little trick. It's actually very fun. I recommend, right after a massage if possible.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.
Thank you very much.